Ines Bettencourt and Amari DeBerry are in the transfer portal, which we are going to talk about in this video. I will give a brief rundown of their UConn careers, followed by discussing the implications for the UConn roster in 24-25 and 25-26. Before we start, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. As well, your comments are always wanted and appreciated, even the poison. But as well, giving me news updates in the comments is much appreciated because I am on Australian time and it helps me when I wake up and I see the news that is broken while I have slept. All right, let's get into this. So, it was announced on Monday that Amari DeBerry and Ines Bettencourt were in the transfer portal. Bettencourt announced that she was in the portal via an Instagram message where she thanked UConn Nation for the past 2 years. Whereas UConn issued a release on Amari DeBerry, which basically said, "We appreciate Amari's time at UConn." And it went on to say, "We wish her and her family the best as she continues her collegiate career." Now, I think most UConn fans, if being honest, would say they don't mind these transfers too much, as the bonus is it opens up 2 roster spots for the 2024-25 roster. And the loss of DeBerry and Bettencourt will have minimal impact as UConn was depleted last season and they did not get just very little playing time. With Ines Bettencourt, I would think UConn fans would wish her well. I am not sure if she and UConn always had sort of like a backdoor agreement that she would play 2 years. She was an international player that came in from Portugal. Being exposed to the UConn program and being allowed to train with them every day obviously probably helped her game develop in the long term. Bettencourt was an emergency signing after Paige Beckers injured her ACL prior to the 2022-23 season. And prior to changing her commitment to UConn just before the season started, she was slated to go to Northwest Florida Junior College. So essentially there's really no disappointment with her. There weren't high expectations. She filled her role well. By all accounts, she was a good teammate. She filled in for a game when Nika Mule was injured, and I think most would only wish good things for her moving forward. Now, I'm sure UConn fans want good things for Amari DeBerry and her future as well, but there's no doubt that her career at UConn has been very frustrating. And a lot of this is due to expectations, as she was ranked number 15 in the 2021 class. In addition, UConn was desperate for her to step up and be the post that they needed, and she looks the part. She's 6'5", seems to have all the tools, but she could just never put it together. Now, this video gives a more detailed account of her career at UConn, and I sort of asked the question, is it coaching or the player? And really, I come to the conclusion it's just really hard to predict how good post players are going to be, because if you look at the film of Amari DeBerry, when she's in high school, she's going against guards basically, and it's just unclear how it's going to translate. But with that being said, she didn't do herself any favors because she showed up to UConn out of shape. It sounded like she struggled to get through her practices her freshman year, and the hope was she'd make the jump in sophomore year, and it just never did translate. Anyway, if you want more details on her career, then go check out that video. That has more details. As I more want to focus on the roster for UConn in 2024-25 and 25-26, as I wonder if this impacts what they're going to do in terms of the transfer portal and who they're going to bring in terms of recruits for 2024-25. So currently right now, they have 13 players on the roster. You can carry 15 scholarship players. I have just broken it down in terms of positions to keep it straight in my head, but I know some of the positions, they're guards or swing players, so it just depends. But anyway, let's go through it. So it'll be At center, it'll be Jana El-Alfi. Hopefully she's healthy. Same thing with Ayanna Patterson. She's center power forward, if you like. Hopefully she's recovered from her knee surgery for chronic patella tendonitis. Then you have two power forwards. So Ice Brady, who's 6'3", and Sarah Strong. The number one recruit who's just signed to come to UConn. It's all very exciting. Then your swing players that can go between guard and forward. You've got a bevy of those. So you have forward 4 of those. So you have Cadence Samuels, the freshman, who was a bit raw. You have Aubrey Griffin, who's coming back from injury. Those two are very similar body types and sort of similar makeup. Like, obviously Samuels has a better shot than Griffin, but Griffin plays better defense. It seemed when the season started, this in the 23-24 season, Gino was really keen to have Griffin come off the bench. Like, he had this theory that she played better in short bursts, and that's what they were going to do. But then after the injuries, he needed to put her in the starting lineup, and then unfortunately she did the ACL in November, which really, really hurt them. Now, the other two swing players are in similar molds. So Morgan Shelley, the recruit coming in from California, she's long. She's like 6'2". She can handle the ball a bit, and she can shoot as well. She's a classic UConn type of player. I've done a video on her. If you want to check it out, I probably need to update it. But at the time, she's been healthy and had another good year. So it'll be exciting to see her come in next year. Now, as far as we know, Caroline Ducharme is playing next year. I don't know if that's the next shoe to drop to see what the medical says on her or not, but currently she is slotted to come back, and she and Morgan Shelley, they are similar type players. The next players are the off guard, so you think Ashlyn Shade would be number 1 on the depth chart just after the season that she's had. AZ Fudd will be returning as well. I don't know if they're going to limit her minutes or how they're going to do it. I sort of wondered if they were going to try to keep her to 15 to 25 minutes a game with the goal of getting her through a season injury-free, but to be determined. Allie Zabel as well. She's the freshman coming in. She's a lot like Ashlyn Shade, but I don't think she is college ready as much as Shade was. Like, Shade had been working on her body because her dad was a personal trainer and was really well prepared to come to UConn. I did a video on that, on how she was totally ready to hit the floor running when she came in as a freshman. I'm not sure if that's the same case with Zabel. And then the point guards would obviously be Paige Beckers and then KK Arnold as well. Now, again, don't leave me comments. I know these positions are interchangeable. I'm just trying to give you a framework of what it potentially looks like the traditional way. But I know you can play Paige Beckers at the off guard and KK at point guard, and Gino will mix and match and figure out the lineup and figure out what works best, obviously. So as I mentioned, there are 2 spots now open for the 24-25 roster. And at this stage, it seems like UConn has their sights set on 2 players. So first being Emily Rodriguez, they've offered her a scholarship. She's deciding between the schools, like one of them is South Carolina. She is from Miami. She's a late riser. Like, I think she's a bit raw, but a lot of schools are on her, and UConn's offered her a scholarship. The other one is Caitlin Chen for the other roster spot. So she would be a grad transfer. She went to Princeton, which is coached by former UConn player Carla Berube. So you would think they have good intel on her, and it seems to be a good fit. And that seems to be the rumor, is that's where she's going to wind up going, is UConn. The only question with that is that makes a very crowded backcourt. I mean, who loses out on playing time? I mean, it's obviously not Paige Beckers, but KK Arnold played well this year. In addition, Caitlin Chen is not a scrub. Like, I doubt she wants to transfer somewhere and just be sitting on the bench. So I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but that is the rumors. Now, looking at the UConn roster in 25-26, I am assuming Paige Beckers is leaving. And then with their 2 commits, they already have 13 on the roster already set up in 25-26. So Gandhi Malou Mamel is the center that they've gotten that's committed, and the other commit is Khalees Fisher. She's a guard that's currently playing at IMG Academy. I've done videos on both of those players if you want to take a look. Mamel is pretty raw. That's the one thing that came across. I haven't looked at her recently to see how much more she's improved, but definitely a raw player. And then Khalees Fisher's developing at IMG Academy. So with the 2 roster spots available, in 2025-26, UConn has put in offers, or has offers out to 4 players, which is Laura Sumfai, the Australian. She's 6'3". She's also at IMG Academy. Dee Alexander is a 6'1" wing. Then there's Zakia Johnson. I don't know if I'm butchering that name. Apologies if I am. She's a 5'11" guard. And Lee Macy, who's a 6'2" wing. Bryn McCowie is a 6'3" forward center out of Washington State. She's interested in UConn, but I don't know if UConn's offered her a scholarship. As the offseason progresses, I'll probably do more stories on those 4 players. So I'm really curious to see what they do this year. If they're really that keen on Caitlin Chen, which it seems like they are, but to be determined, and if she's keen on them, if they sign her, then you would think that last spot they would look for a center in the transfer portal just to back up Jana El-Alfi and Patterson, who were both coming off injuries. And then Ice Brady, I know you could stick her into the post, but I only saw her post up one time this season. Like, it stood out to me when she posted up against Southern Cal, because like, Ice, there you go, posting up hard down low, because most of it was all fallaways and sort of jumpers and things like that. And she seems more comfortable, like sort of a roaming 4 versus the big down low trying to do some damage down there. But again, to be determined. I'm sure they have a plan, and it will be all determined soon. A lot of this really determined in terms of what they do with the roster moving forward. It'll depend on injuries. Can Patterson get her knee healthy? Again, with El-Alfi, you would think the Achilles will not be an issue, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then the other one is Carolyn Deschamps. I know they were talking that they were sending her to specialists to get her checked out. They said they would talk about the reports in due course, so I don't know what the outcome of that is. Just concussions are very tough, because how can you tell if somebody's fully recovered from a concussion or not? So yeah, just to be determined. I hope she's going well. Anyway, I hope this video gives you some insight on where the UConn roster is at and potentially going. Your comments are much appreciated. Like, if I've gotten something wrong, then happy to be educated in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.